The night was cold on the secondary road that cut through the Arizona desert. The wind blew hard, lifting dust and carrying the smell of gasoline mixed with the dry aroma of scrub vegetation. Under the weak light of a solitary street lamp, a group of bikers from the Iron Wolves MC stood in front of an abandoned gas station. There were 7 men, all wearing black leather jackets with the wolf emblem on their backs, worn jeans and heavy boots. Marcus Sullivan, the leader of the group, was 42 years old. With short grey hair and a scar that ran from the left corner of his mouth to his chin, he lit a cigarette while watching the empty road ahead. Beside him, Derek Thompson, his right-hand man, a large man with a red beard and tribal tattoos on his arms, adjusted the chain on his wallet. "We should get moving before dawn," Derek said, glancing at his watch. "Phoenix is still 2 hours away." "Relax," Marcus replied, releasing the smoke slowly. "We have time. Let the boys stretch their legs." The other members of the group were scattered around the area. Tony Garrett and Kevin Walsh were rolling dice leaning against one of the bikes, while Brian Foster checked the oil on his Harley Davidson. A bit farther away, Nathan Pierce and Scott Reynolds were talking in low voices, laughing at something only they understood. That's when the headlights of an old car appeared on the road. A faded blue sedan, a model from the 90s, advanced slowly toward the station. The engine made an irregular noise, as if it were about to die at any moment. Marcus raised his hand, a silent signal for everyone to stay alert. The car stopped a few meters away. For a long moment, nothing happened. Only the sound of the wind and the irregular rumble of the engine filled the silence. Then, the driver's door opened slowly. A young woman got out of the vehicle. She was about 28 years old, with dark brown hair tied in a messy ponytail, sunken eyes, and a sickly paleness that contrasted with the dirt on her face. She wore a white t-shirt stained with dried blood and a torn jean jacket. Her hands trembled visibly as she walked toward the bikers. "Please," she said, her voice hoarse and broken, "I need help." Marcus took a step forward, his eyes fixed on her. There was something strange about this situation. The woman didn't seem scared of their presence, which was unusual. Most people avoided groups of bikers, especially in isolated places like this one. "Help with what?" Marcus asked, keeping his tone neutral. She stopped a few steps from him, breathing with difficulty. Her body was tense, as if every movement required immense effort. "They're coming! They'll find me! I can't keep running!" Derek approached, crossing his arms. "Who's coming? What are you talking about?" The woman looked at him, and then at the other bikers, who were now forming a semicircle around her. Tears began to fall down her dirty face. "It doesn't matter. Nothing matters anymore." "Lady, you're not making any sense," Tony said impatiently. "If you got trouble, call the cops." She laughed, a bitter sound without humor. "The cops? You think they care?" Marcus studied her face carefully. There was despair there, but also something deeper. Resignation. He had seen that look before, in men who knew they were about to die. "What's your name?" he asked. She hesitated, biting her lower lip. "Emily. Emily Carter." "Okay, Emily," Marcus said, throwing the cigarette on the ground and crushing it with his boot. "Why don't you tell us what happened? Start from the beginning." Emily shook her head slowly. "There's no point. They'll kill me anyway. Or worse." She looked directly at Marcus, and her next words came out with a coldness that froze the air. "Just kill me already. Do it now. Make it quick." A heavy silence fell over the group. The bikers exchanged confused looks. Derek took a step back, frowning. "What the hell?" "I'm serious," Emily insisted, her voice firmer now. "I'm begging you. Just end it. I can't take this anymore." Marcus felt a tightness in his chest. He had seen a lot in his life, had done things he wasn't proud of, but this was different. There was something deeply disturbing about the way she was begging for her own death. "Nobody's killing anybody," he said firmly. "But we need to see what you're hiding." Emily frowned. "What?" That blood on your shirt, Derek explained. We need to know if you're hurt or if you hurt someone. She closed her eyes and new tears streamed down. Fine, if it makes you feel better. Marcus approached slowly, watching her every move. Lift your shirt, just enough for us to see. Emily took a deep breath and with trembling hands began to lift the hem of her white t-shirt. The dried blood formed dark stains on the fabric. When she raised the piece to just below her chest, all the bikers froze. Emily's belly was covered with deep bruises, purple and yellow, signs of repeated beatings. But that wasn't what shocked them. There was a recent cut, not yet fully healed, forming an irregular line just above her navel, and lower, almost imperceptible under the dirt and blood, were the unmistakable marks of a recent pregnancy, the skin still loose and with red stretch marks. Jesus Christ, Scott muttered, turning his face away. Derek took a step back, his expression transformed into shock. Where's the baby? Emily let the shirt fall, covering her belly again. She fell to her knees on the concrete floor, sobbing uncontrollably. They took her. They took my baby girl. Marcus felt anger rise like fire in his veins. He had 2 daughters, both adults now, but the simple idea of someone tearing a child from its mother made him want to destroy everything around him. Who took her? He asked, kneeling beside Emily. Tell me who did this to you. She looked at him through her tears, her body shaking violently. My husband, Richard Carter, and his family. They said I wasn't worthy, that I was trash. They took her right after I gave birth. I tried to fight, but... She touched the cut on her belly. Richard did this, said it was to remind me that I'd never be a mother. The bikers stood in silence. The wind continued to blow, but now it seemed to carry the weight of the injustice they had just discovered. How long ago? Nathan asked, approaching. 3 days, Emily replied. I escaped from the hospital where they were keeping me. I've been running since then, but they have connections everywhere. Police, judges, lawyers, the Carters own half of Flagstaff. Nobody will help me. Marcus stood up, looking at his companions. They all had the same expression of contained fury. The club's code was clear. They didn't get involved in family matters, but this wasn't a family matter. This was a crime. Derek, Marcus called, get her some water and something to eat. Brian, check if anyone's following her. What are we doing, boss? Tony asked. Marcus looked at Emily, who was still on her knees, destroyed by pain and despair. He thought of his own daughters, of how he would have moved heaven and earth if someone tried to hurt them. We're going to get her baby back, he said, his voice firm as stone, and we're going to make sure those bastards pay for what they did. Emily raised her face, her eyes wide with surprise. Why? Why would you help me? You don't even know me. Marcus offered his hand to help her up, because nobody deserves what they did to you, and because we might be outlaws, lady, but we're not monsters. She took his hand and stood up, still trembling. For the first time since she arrived, a glimmer of hope shone in her eyes. Thank you, she whispered. Don't thank us yet, Derek said, handing her a bottle of water. We need to know everything. Names, places, how many people we're dealing with. Emily drank the water avidly, as if she hadn't drunk anything for days. When she finished, she wiped her mouth with the back of her hand and began to speak. Richard Carter is a lawyer. His father, George Carter, owns Carter Industries, a mining company. They have a mansion on the north side of Flagstaff. Security, cameras, guards. The baby. Her name is Sophie. They're keeping her there. How do you know? Kevin asked. I heard them talking before I escaped, Emily explained. Richard's mother, Patricia, she's always wanted a grandchild. But she never approved of me. She convinced Richard that I was unfit, that Sophie would be better off without me. Marcus crossed his arms, thinking quickly. Invading private property, facing armed security, all of this could go very wrong, but he had already made his decision. We ride at dawn, he announced. Tony, Kevin, you'll do reconnaissance. I want to know how many guards, entry points, everything. Scott, Nathan, prepare the weapons. Derek, you stay with me. We're going to make a plan. The men nodded, moving quickly to carry out the orders. Emily watched everything with a mixture of fear and admiration. I can't believe you're doing this, she said to Marcus. He looked her in the eyes. We all have our demons, Emily. Maybe helping you is a way for us to fight ours. The night advanced, and the group prepared for what was coming. On the horizon, the first lights of dawn began to paint the sky orange and pink, and with them came the promise of a battle that would change all their lives forever. The sun was rising over the mountains when the bikers arrived at a cheap motel on the outskirts of Flagstaff. The establishment was a set of decadent rooms, painted in faded beige, with peeling red doors and a broken neon sign that flickered intermittently. Marcus paid in cash for 3 adjacent rooms, without asking questions to the sleepy attendant who barely looked at the group. Emily was taken to one of the rooms, where Derek and Nathan stood guard at the door. Marcus had insisted that she rest and clean up while they planned the next steps. She had protested at first, saying she couldn't sleep knowing Sophie was so close, but exhaustion finally won. As soon as she touched the bed, she fell into a deep, restless sleep. In the next room, Marcus, Derek, Tony, and Kevin were bent over a city map spread on the bed. Brian and Scott had gone out to buy supplies and do initial reconnaissance of the Carter property. The Carter mansion is here, Tony said, pointing to an area in the north of the city near the mountains. It's in a gated community, private security at the entrance, probably more inside the property. Derek lit a cigarette, ignoring the no smoking sign on the wall. We can't just ride up there on our bikes. They'll see us coming from a mile away. We need to be smart about this, Marcus agreed, studying the map. If we go in guns blazing, someone gets hurt, probably the baby. Kevin, who had served in the army before joining the club, leaned over the map. We need reconnaissance first, eyes on the property, find out routines, shift changes, weak points. The door opened and Brian entered, followed by Scott. Both carried bags from a convenience store. Brian threw one on the bed. Got some food, water, and these, he said, pulling out a pair of binoculars from the bag. Figured we'd need them. Good thinking, Marcus said. What did you see? Scott sat in a chair, running his hand through his blonde hair. The place is a fortress. High walls, security cameras everywhere. There's a main gate with 2 guards. We drove around the perimeter. It's about 3 acres. Trees, gardens, the whole rich people setup. Did you see the baby? Derek asked. Couldn't get close enough, Brian admitted. But we saw movement inside. A woman, probably in her 60s, walking near the windows. Could be the grandmother. Marcus slammed his fist on the table, making the map shake. We need someone inside, someone they won't suspect. Like who? Tony asked. We all look exactly like what we are. There was a thoughtful silence. Then Derek snapped his fingers. What about Emily? She knows the layout. She lived there. Are you crazy? Kevin protested. They're looking for her. The moment she shows up, they'll grab her. Not if she goes in disguise, Derek argued. Different hair, clothes, makeup. She could pose as, I don't know, a delivery person or something. Marcus shook his head. Too risky. She's barely holding it together as it is. Before they could continue, gentle knocks on the door interrupted the conversation. Nathan opened it, and Emily entered, her hair still wet from the shower. She had put on clean clothes that Derek had bought for her, a gray t-shirt and jeans. Despite still looking exhausted, there was a determination in her eyes that hadn't been there before. I heard you talking, she said. I want to help. Emily, you should rest, Marcus said gently. I can't rest knowing Sophie is in that house, she retorted, approaching the table. I know the property. I lived there for 2 years before everything went wrong. Derek crossed his arms. Tell us about the layout, every detail you remember. Emily looked at the map and began to point. The main house has 3 floors. The ground floor is mostly living areas, living room, dining room, kitchen. The second floor has the bedrooms. Richard's parents stay in the master suite on the east wing. Richard probably took one of the guest rooms. Where would they keep the baby? Marcus asked. Emily bit her lip, her eyes welling up. There's a nursery. Patricia had it decorated months before Sophie was born. It's on the second floor, west wing, overlooking the garden. Security? Kevin asked. When I lived there, they had 4 guards during the day, 2 at night. One always at the front gate, the others patrol the grounds. There are cameras, but she hesitated. George is paranoid about being hacked. He keeps the security system on a closed network. No internet connection. Brian leaned forward. That means we can't access it remotely, but also means they can't call for backup easily if we cut the phone lines. There's a service entrance in the back, Emily continued. The staff use it. Gardeners, cleaners, delivery people. It's less secure than the main gate. Marcus looked at his companions. A plan was beginning to form in his mind. Okay, here's what we're going to do. Tony, Kevin, you'll take the service entrance. Create a distraction, nothing violent, just enough to draw attention. Brian, Scott, you're on the phone lines and power. Cut them when I give the signal. And us? Derek asked. You and I are going in through the main gate, Marcus said. We'll pose as lawyers. Rich people always have lawyers coming and going. We don't exactly look like lawyers, Derek pointed out, gesturing to his leather clothes and tattoos. Then we clean up, Marcus said. Nathan, I need you to get us some suits. Something convincing. Nathan nodded. On it. Emily looked at Marcus with concern. What about me? What can I do? Marcus put his hand on her shoulder. You stay here, safe. When we get Sophie, we'll bring her straight to you. No, Emily said firmly. I'm coming with you. She's my daughter. I need to be there. It's too dangerous, Derek protested. I don't care, Emily said, her voice breaking. I've already lost everything. If something goes wrong, I want to be there. I need to see her even if it's the last thing I do. Marcus studied her face. He saw the determination, but also the desperation. As a father, he understood. Okay, but you stay in the car until we give the all clear. Understood? Emily nodded, relieved. Thank you. The following hours were a whirlwind of preparations. Nathan returned with 2 cheap but presentable suits. Marcus and Derek shaved and cut their hair, transforming themselves into almost unrecognizable versions of themselves. Tony and Kevin studied the terrain layout, planning the best route to the back entrance. Brian and Scott checked their tools, ensuring they could cut the communication lines quickly. When the sun began to set, painting the sky in orange and purple tones, the group gathered one last time. Marcus looked at each of them, feeling the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. Listen up, he said. This isn't our usual job. We're not stealing. We're not fighting over territory. We're saving a child. That means we do this clean. No unnecessary violence. We get in, we get the baby, we get out. Clear? Everyone nodded. And if things go south? Scott asked. Then we adapt, Marcus replied. But let's make sure they don't. Emily, who had been sitting silently in the corner of the room, stood up. I just want to say thank you, all of you. I don't know why you're doing this, but thank you. Derek gave a half smile. Let's just say we're making up for past mistakes. Night fell completely when they left. Marcus and Derek went in a rental car, dressed in their suits. Emily went with them, hidden in the back seat. Tony and Kevin followed in a white van without identification. Brian and Scott went in another vehicle, carrying their tools. The trip to the Carter property was tense and silent. Emily looked out the window, her fists clenched on her lap. Marcus could hear her accelerated breathing. We're going to get her back, he said, trying to reassure her. I hope you're right, Emily murmured. When they arrived at the main gate of the gated community, Marcus took a deep breath. Showtime. He stopped the car in front of the guardhouse. A uniformed security guard, a middle-aged man with a protruding belly, approached the window. "Good evening," Marcus said, forcing a professional smile. "We're here to see George Carter. We're from Henderson and Associates, his legal firm. He's expecting us." The guard frowned. "I don't have you on the list." "That's strange," Derek said from the passenger seat, pretending to consult a cell phone. "Mr. Carter called us personally this afternoon, said it was urgent." The guard hesitated. "Let me call the house." "Of course," Marcus said, remaining calm. The guard returned to the guardhouse and picked up the phone. Marcus looked in the rearview mirror and saw Brian and Scott positioned at a safe distance. He made a discreet hand signal. Seconds later, the guard shook the phone, confused. "That's weird. The line's dead." "Maybe it's the storm coming," Derek suggested, pointing to the dark clouds forming in the sky. The guard looked up and then back at them. Finally, he sighed. "All right, but if Mr. Carter didn't call you, you're leaving immediately." "Absolutely," Marcus said. The gate opened slowly. Marcus drove through it, his heart beating hard in his chest. They were inside. As they followed the paved road leading to the mansion, Emily crouched in the back seat, hiding under a blanket. Marcus could feel the tension in the air. The Carter mansion was impressive. 3 floors of modern architecture with large glass windows and outdoor lighting that highlighted every detail. Perfectly maintained gardens surrounded the property with fountains and marble sculptures. Marcus parked in front of the main entrance. He and Derek got out, adjusting their suits. At the periphery of his vision, he saw Tony and Kevin approaching the back entrance. The main door opened before they could knock. A tall man with dark hair and cold eyes appeared. He wore casual but expensive clothes, a cashmere sweater and tailored pants. "Can I help you?" he asked, his voice laden with distrust. Marcus recognized Richard Carter from the photos Emily had shown. "Mr. Carter, good evening. We're from Henderson and Associates. Your father requested our presence." Richard frowned. "My father didn't mention anything to me. It's regarding the mining permits," Derek improvised. "He said it couldn't wait." Richard hesitated but then shrugged. "Fine. Wait here. I'll get him." He disappeared inside the house, leaving the door ajar. Marcus and Derek exchanged glances. It was now or never. Marcus made a discreet signal and Brian cut the power. Immediately, the mansion's lights flickered and went out. Shouts of surprise echoed from inside. "Go!" Marcus ordered. They ran in, flashlights in hand. The plan was in motion, and there was no turning back. Chaos took over the Carter mansion the moment the lights went out. Marcus and Derek quickly entered through the main hall, their flashlights cutting through the darkness. The interior was as luxurious as the exterior. Marble floors, crystal chandeliers now hanging inert from the ceiling, expensive paintings on the walls. "What the hell is going on?" Richard Carter's voice echoed from the second floor. "Jenkins, check the breaker." Marcus gestured to Derek, indicating they should split up. Derek nodded and headed toward what appeared to be the kitchen, while Marcus silently climbed the main staircase. His years as a biker had taught him to move quickly and precisely, even in high-risk situations. On the second floor, he could hear confused voices. An older woman, probably Patricia Carter, was shouting for her husband. Hurried footsteps echoed through the corridors. Marcus stayed in the shadows, watching. Richard appeared in the hallway, holding a cell phone that dimly lit his irritated face. "No signal. Damn it!" Marcus waited until Richard passed, then continued toward the west wing where Emily said the nursery was. His heart was beating hard, but his mind was focused. He had done much more dangerous things in his life, but never anything that mattered this much. Meanwhile, outside, Tony and Kevin had entered through the service entrance. The door was unlocked, exactly as Emily had said. They moved quickly through the industrial kitchen, passing granite countertops and professional appliances that probably cost more than their bikes. "Someone's coming," Kevin whispered, hearing footsteps. They hid behind a kitchen island while a security guard entered, flashlight in hand. The man, a large type named Jenkins, muttered as he searched for the circuit breaker box. Tony waited until Jenkins was distracted, then moved. In seconds, he was behind the guard, applying an arm lock that cut off the man's air without seriously hurting him. Jenkins fell unconscious to the floor. "One down," Tony murmured, dragging the body to a pantry. Back on the second floor, Marcus finally found the nursery door. It was painted white with gold details and had a small plaque with the name Sophie in cursive letters. He tested the handle, unlocked. Opening the door slowly, Marcus entered the room. It was a large space, decorated in pastel shades of pink and white. There was an intricately carved wooden crib in the center, shelves full of expensive toys, and a musical mobile hanging silently from the ceiling. And there, in the crib, was Sophie. The baby was only 3 days old, small and fragile, wrapped in a pink blanket. Her eyes were closed, and she slept peacefully, oblivious to the chaos around her. Marcus felt something tighten in his chest. She was so innocent, so vulnerable. "There you are," he whispered, approaching carefully. He was about to pick up the baby when a flashlight beam illuminated his face. Marcus spun around, his hand instinctively moving to the weapon at his waist. "Who the hell are you?" Patricia Carter stood in the doorway, her flashlight pointed at him. She was an elegant woman in her early 60s, wearing a silk robe and pearl necklace. Her face showed more indignation than fear. Marcus raised his hand slowly. "I'm just here for the baby, ma'am." "That's my granddaughter," Patricia said, her voice sharp. "You're not taking her anywhere." "She's not your granddaughter to keep," Marcus said firmly. "You stole her from her mother." Patricia's expression hardened. "Emily is unfit. She's unstable, poor, worthless. Sophie deserves better." Anger surged through Marcus, but he kept his voice calm. "That's not your decision to make." "Richard!" Patricia screamed. "Richard, there's an intruder in the nursery." Marcus moved quickly. He grabbed Sophie from the crib, wrapping her securely in the blanket. The baby stirred but didn't wake. He turned to leave, but Patricia blocked the doorway. "Move," Marcus ordered. "Never," Patricia hissed. Footsteps thundered in the hallway. Richard appeared behind his mother, his face twisted in rage. "Put my daughter down!" "She's not your daughter anymore," Marcus said. "Not after what you did to Emily." Richard lunged forward, but Derek appeared from the shadows, intercepting him. The two men crashed into the wall, Derek using his superior size to pin Richard down. "Let's go, boss!" Derek shouted. Marcus pushed past Patricia, who grabbed at his arm. He gently but firmly shoved her aside and ran down the hallway. Behind him, he could hear Richard struggling and shouting threats. As Marcus descended the stairs, the lights suddenly flickered back on. George Carter, a stocky man in his 70s with silver hair, stood in the main hall with 2 security guards. "Stop right there," George commanded. Marcus froze, holding Sophie close to his chest. The baby was starting to wake up, making small, whimpering sounds. "You're making a mistake," George said, his voice cold. "That child belongs to this family. We can give her everything. What can Emily give her? Poverty? Instability? Love," Marcus said simply. "Something you people clearly don't understand." One of the guards reached for his weapon, but before he could draw it, Tony and Kevin burst in from the kitchen, their own guns drawn. "Nobody moves!" Tony shouted. The standoff lasted only seconds, but it felt like an eternity. Then Scott and Nathan came through the front door, reinforcing the bikers' position. "We're leaving," Marcus announced. "Nobody has to get hurt." "You won't get away with this," George threatened. "I have connections." "The police, the courts." "Yeah, we've heard," Derek interrupted, finally releasing Richard and joining Marcus. We'll take our chances." The bikers began backing toward the door, weapons still drawn. The security guards looked to George for orders, but the old man just glared at them with impotent fury. As they reached the entrance, Patricia's voice rang out from the staircase. "You're kidnapping her! You're criminals!" Marcus turned back one last time. "No, ma'am. We're just returning what you stole." They rushed outside to the waiting vehicles. Emily burst from the rental car the moment she saw them. "Sophie!" she cried, tears streaming down her face. Marcus carefully placed the baby in her arms. Emily held her daughter close, sobbing with relief and joy. "Oh, my baby, my sweet baby. We need to move," Derek urged. "They'll call the cops." "Phone lines are still cut," Brian reported, "but that won't last long." They piled into the vehicles and sped toward the gate. The guard at the entrance, alerted by the commotion, had closed it. But Kevin was driving the van and he didn't slow down. The van smashed through the gate with a screech of metal. The convoy raced through the dark streets of Flagstaff, putting as much distance as possible between themselves and the Carter mansion. In the back seat of the rental car, Emily cradled Sophie, whispering words of love and comfort. Marcus drove in silence, adrenaline still coursing through his veins. They had done it. Against all odds, they had gotten the baby back, but he knew this wasn't over. The Carters wouldn't let this go. They would use all their power and connections to come after them. The war had just begun. The bikers drove through the night, putting miles between themselves and Flagstaff. Marcus knew they couldn't return to the motel. That would be the first place the Carters would look. Instead, they headed east toward New Mexico, using back roads and staying off the highway as much as possible. Sophie was crying now, her small voice filling the car. Emily tried to comfort her, but the baby was hungry and distressed. "We need to stop," Emily said desperately. "She needs formula, diapers. I don't have anything." Derek pulled up a map on his phone. "There's a small town about 30 miles ahead. Rosewood should have a store." Marcus nodded. "We'll make it quick." In and out. They drove in tense silence, constantly checking the mirrors for pursuing vehicles. But the roads remained empty, lit only by moonlight and their headlights. Rosewood turned out to be a tiny desert town, barely more than a cluster of buildings around a crossroads. A single convenience store had its lights on, a beacon in the darkness. Marcus parked around the back, while Derek and Nathan went inside. They returned minutes later with bags full of baby supplies, formula, bottles, diapers, wipes, and baby clothes. The clerk didn't ask questions, Derek reported, just looked half asleep. Emily immediately prepared a bottle with shaking hands. When she offered it to Sophie, the baby latched on hungrily, her cries subsiding. Emily's tears fell onto her daughter as she fed her. "Thank you," she whispered again. "Thank you so much." Marcus watched them in the rearview mirror, a mother and child reunited. It made everything they had done worth it. But his moment of peace was interrupted by his phone ringing. It was Tony calling from the van. "Boss, we got a problem," Tony said. "I'm listening to the police scanner. They're putting out an APB, kidnapping charges. They're describing our vehicles." Marcus cursed under his breath. "How long do we have?" "Hard to say. Small-town cops might not be paying attention, but Highway Patrol will be on alert." "We need to ditch these vehicles," Derek said, overhearing the conversation. "And go where?" Kevin asked. Marcus thought quickly. "We need somewhere safe, somewhere off the grid." Nathan leaned forward. "I might know a place. My cousin owns a ranch about 2 hours from here, near the border. He doesn't ask questions." "Will he help?" Marcus asked. "He owes me," Nathan said simply. "Big time." "Then that's where we're going," Marcus decided. "Call him. Tell him we're coming and we need a place to lay low." As Nathan made the call, Marcus pulled back onto the road. The convoy continued east, now with a destination. The landscape gradually changed from desert scrub to rolling grasslands. Sophie had finished her bottle and fallen asleep in Emily's arms. The young mother looked down at her daughter with an expression of pure love mixed with fear. "What happens now?" Emily asked quietly. "The Carters will never stop looking for us, for her. We'll figure it out," Marcus assured her, though he wasn't entirely certain himself. Derek turned in his seat to look at Emily. "You said Richard did that to you," he gestured to her stomach. "That he cut you." Emily nodded, her expression darkening. "After Sophie was born, he said I'd ruined his life, that marrying me was his biggest mistake. His mother was there, watching. She didn't stop him." "Jesus," Derek muttered. "Did you report it?" Marcus asked. "To the hospital staff?" "I tried," Emily said bitterly. "But Richard's family owns the hospital. The doctor who delivered Sophie works for them. Everyone there. They all looked the other way." Marcus's jaw clenched. The corruption ran deep. "How did you end up married to him in the first place?" Emily was quiet for a moment, staring out the window. "I was young, stupid. I thought he loved me. He was charming at first, told me I was special. By the time I saw his true nature, I was already trapped. He controlled everything, my money, my friends, where I could go, and his family. They made it clear I was beneath them." "How long were you married?" Derek asked. 2 years, Emily replied. "The worst 2 years of my life. I tried to leave once, about 6 months ago, but Richard found me. She touched her arm, where faint bruises were still visible. "He made sure I knew what would happen if I tried again." "Why didn't you tell anyone?" Nathan asked from the front. "Who would believe me?" Emily said, her voice breaking. "Richard Carter, respected lawyer from a prominent family, versus me, nobody from nowhere. The one time I went to the police, the officer knew Richard personally. They had drinks together. He called Richard to come pick me up like I was a lost dog." Marcus felt sick. He had seen injustice before, had been on both sides of the law, but this level of systematic abuse and corruption was something else. "When did you find out you were pregnant?" he asked. A small smile crossed Emily's face, the first genuine one he'd seen. "About 7 months ago. I was terrified at first. Bringing a child into that situation seemed cruel, but then..." She looked down at Sophie. "Then I felt her move and everything changed. I knew I had to protect her. I thought maybe having a baby would make things better, that Richard would change. But he didn't," Derek said. "No, he got worse. Patricia started controlling everything about the pregnancy. She chose the doctor, decided what I could eat, even picked out Sophie's name without asking me. I was just an incubator to them." "And after you gave birth?" Marcus asked. Emily's voice became barely a whisper. "They took her immediately. I didn't even get to hold her properly. Patricia said I needed to rest, that I was too weak. But I heard them talking outside my room. They were going to keep me sedated, tell people I had postpartum depression, that I was unfit. Richard would get sole custody, and I'd be locked away somewhere." "That's when you ran," Marcus concluded. "That's when Richard cut me," Emily corrected. "He wanted to make sure I understood my place. After he left, I waited until the nurse stepped out. Then I pulled out my IV and just ran. I stole clothes from a laundry cart, took a car from the parking lot. I didn't even have a plan. I just knew I had to get Sophie back." The car fell silent, except for Sophie's soft breathing and the hum of the engine. Marcus understood now why Emily had been so desperate, so ready to die. She had lost everything, her freedom, her dignity, her child. The encounter with the bikers had been a last, desperate gamble. "We're not letting them take her back," Marcus said firmly. "I don't care how rich or powerful they are. They'll come after you too now," Emily warned. "All of you. You know that, right?" Derek laughed darkly. "Lady, we've had worse enemies than some rich assholes from Arizona." "Have you, though?" Emily asked. "People like the Carters don't just have money. They have influence. They can make you disappear without anyone asking questions. Then we'll make sure they can't find us," Marcus said. They drove for another hour before Nathan's phone rang. He answered, listened, then turned to Marcus. "We're good. My cousin says to come ahead. He's got an old bunkhouse we can use. It's isolated, no neighbors for miles." "Perfect," Marcus said. As dawn began to break, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold, they finally arrived at the ranch. It was exactly as Nathan described, isolated, surrounded by endless grassland and scattered cattle. A weathered two-story farmhouse sat at the end of a long dirt road, with several outbuildings scattered around it. A man emerged from the house as they pulled up. He was tall and lean, with sun-weathered skin and a cowboy hat. He greeted Nathan with a firm handshake and barely glanced at the others. "Bunkhouse is out back," he said simply. "Got running water and electricity. Don't need to know why you're here, don't want to know. You need supplies, make a list." "Thanks, Cole," Nathan said. Cole tipped his hat and walked back to the house without another word. The bunkhouse was basic but clean. 4 beds, a small kitchen, and a bathroom. It would do. Emily immediately set about making Sophie comfortable, using blankets to create a makeshift crib in a drawer. The baby was sleeping peacefully now, unaware of the danger surrounding her. The bikers gathered around the small kitchen table, exhaustion settling over them. "So what's the play?" Tony asked. "We can't hide here forever." "No," Marcus agreed, "but we buy time. Let things cool down, see what the Carters do." "They'll go to the police," Kevin said. "Hell, they probably already have." "And what can the police prove?" Derek asked. "That we rescued a baby from kidnappers? Emily's the legal mother." "Except the Carters will claim we kidnapped Sophie," Brian pointed out. "They'll twist the story, make us look like criminals." "We are criminals," Scott reminded them. Marcus stood up, pacing. "We need leverage. Something to keep the Carters from coming after us." "Like what?" Nathan asked. "Proof," Marcus said. "Proof of what they did to Emily. Medical records, witnesses, something that shows they're the ones who committed crimes." Emily looked up from where she sat beside Sophie. "I can testify, tell the truth about everything, against the word of one of the richest families in Arizona." Derek shook his head. "We need more." Marcus's phone buzzed. It was a text from an unknown number. "You have something that belongs to me. I want it back. Name your price." He showed it to the others. "That didn't take long," Tony muttered. "It's George Carter," Emily said, recognizing the tactic. "He thinks everything can be bought." Marcus typed back, "Not for sale." The response came immediately. "Everyone has a price, $500,000, cash. You disappear, the girl comes home." $500,000, Derek whistled. "That's tempting." "No," Marcus said firmly. "We're not selling a baby." "I wasn't suggesting we do it," Derek clarified. "Just saying they're serious." Another text. "Last chance. Take the money or face the consequences. The police are already looking for you. How long before they find that ranch?" Marcus's blood ran cold. How did they know about the ranch? He looked at Nathan. "Does your cousin have security cameras?" Nathan's eyes widened. "Shit. Yeah, at the entrance gate. They must have tracked us somehow." "We need to move," Marcus said. "Now!" But before anyone could respond, they heard it. The sound of vehicles approaching fast. Multiple engines coming down the dirt road. Marcus ran to the window. 3 black SUVs were speeding toward the bunkhouse, kicking up clouds of dust. "Everyone, get ready!" he shouted. The bikers grabbed their weapons as the SUVs screeched to a halt outside. Men in dark suits emerged, professional and armed. These weren't local police, they were private security, probably ex-military. Emily grabbed Sophie, holding her close. "What do we do?" Marcus assessed the situation quickly. They were outnumbered and outgunned. Fighting would only get someone killed, probably Emily or the baby. He made a decision he hoped he wouldn't regret. "Everyone stand down," he ordered. "Put the weapons away." "Boss, what are you doing?" Derek protested. "Trust me," Marcus said. He walked outside, hands raised. The lead security guard, A square-jawed man with cold eyes pointed a rifle at him. "Where's the child?" the guard demanded. "Safe," Marcus replied, "and she's staying that way." A car door opened, and George Carter stepped out. He walked toward Marcus with the confidence of a man used to getting his way. "This has gone on long enough," George said. "Return my granddaughter, and I'll consider not pressing charges." "She's not your granddaughter," Marcus said. "Not legally, not morally. You stole her. From an unfit mother," George countered. "Emily is disturbed, unstable. We had her psychiatrically evaluated." "By doctors you paid," Marcus shot back. George's expression hardened. "You're in no position to negotiate. I have 12 armed men here. One phone call and the police arrive. You'll spend the rest of your lives in prison." Marcus stood his ground. "Maybe, but while we're going to trial, the whole story comes out. How your son abused his wife. How you kidnapped a newborn. How you use your money to corrupt police and doctors. That's not great publicity for Carter Industries, is it?" George's jaw clenched. He hadn't expected resistance. "What do you want?" he asked finally. "Legal custody for Emily," Marcus said. "Full parental rights, no visitation for Richard, and you drop all charges against us." "Impossible," George said. "Richard has rights as the father." "Richard gave up those rights when he carved up his wife," Marcus said coldly. "You have no proof of that." "Don't I?" Marcus bluffed. "Emily took photos, medical records, witness statements, all locked away somewhere safe. Anything happens to her or Sophie, it all goes public." It was a lie, but George didn't know that. Marcus could see the calculation in the old man's eyes, weighing options. $1 million, George said finally. "For the photos, the records, everything. And you all disappear forever." Marcus was about to refuse when Emily appeared in the doorway, Sophie in her arms. "Wait," she said. She walked toward them, her eyes locked on George. "You want us to disappear? Fine, but not for money. I want a signed document from Richard relinquishing all parental rights. I want you and Patricia to legally agree never to contact me or Sophie again. And I want compensation, enough to start a new life somewhere you can't find us." George stared at her. "How much?" $2 million, Emily said without hesitation. "And a new identity for me and Sophie. You have those kinds of connections, don't you?" George was silent for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. "Done. But you sign a non-disclosure agreement. You never speak about the Carters to anyone." "Deal," Emily said. Marcus looked at her in surprise. She met his eyes and gave a small nod. She knew what she was doing. "My lawyers will draw up the paperwork," George said. "It'll take a few days." "We'll wait," Emily replied, "right here, and if you send anyone else to threaten us, the deal's off and everything goes public." George's expression was unreadable. "Very well, I'll be in touch." He returned to his SUV, and the convoy pulled away, leaving Marcus and Emily standing in the dusty yard. Derek rushed out. "What the hell was that?" Emily looked down at Sophie, tears in her eyes. "Freedom! That was freedom!" Marcus understood. Emily wasn't selling her daughter. She was buying their safety. With new identities and enough money to disappear, the Carters would never find them. "That was smart," he told her. "I learned from the best," Emily said, managing a small smile. 2 years with the Carters taught me how they think. They respect power and money, nothing else. Now they'll leave us alone because it's cheaper and easier than fighting." "Do you trust them to keep the deal?" Derek asked skeptically. "George will," Emily said. "Not because he's honorable, but because he's practical. A scandal would cost him more than $2 million. And with the non-disclosure agreement, he protects his family's reputation. It's a win for him." Marcus had to admit she was right. It was a clever solution, better than running forever. "So what now?" Nathan asked. "Now we wait for the paperwork," Marcus said. "And then We help Emily start her new life." Emily looked at him with gratitude. "I don't know how to thank you. All of you. You risked everything for someone you didn't even know." "Maybe that's exactly why we did it," Marcus said quietly. For the next 3 days, they waited at the ranch. The bikers took turns keeping watch, though no more SUVs appeared. Emily focused on caring for Sophie, bonding with her daughter in a way she hadn't been allowed to before. On the 4th day, a courier arrived with a thick envelope of legal documents. Emily read through them carefully, with Marcus looking over her shoulder. Everything was there: Richard's termination of parental rights, notarized and legally binding. A non-disclosure agreement that prohibited Emily from discussing the Carters publicly. Bank account information showing the transfer of $2 million, and a packet from a document specialist containing new birth certificates, social security cards, and driver's licenses with different names. Emily Carter and Sophie Carter would become Emily Morrison and Sophie Morrison, ready to start fresh somewhere the Carters could never find them. "It's real," Emily whispered, hardly believing it. "It's real," Marcus confirmed. She signed the documents with trembling hands, and Marcus witnessed her signature. It was done. That evening, as the sun set over the grasslands, the bikers prepared to leave. They had done what they set out to do, reunited a mother with her child, and ensured their safety. Emily hugged each of them, tears flowing freely. When she came to Marcus, she held on longer. "You gave me my life back," she said. "You gave Sophie a chance to grow up loved and safe. I'll never forget what you did." "Where will you go?" Marcus asked. Emily smiled. "Somewhere far from here. Maybe the Pacific Northwest, small town, quiet life. Somewhere Sophie can just be a normal kid." "That sounds perfect," Marcus said. He looked down at Sophie, sleeping peacefully in her mother's arms, unaware that she'd been at the center of a battle between two worlds. "You take care of her." "I will," Emily promised, "every single day." Cole had arranged for a car to take Emily to the airport. As the bikers watched her drive away, Derek turned to Marcus. "Think we'll ever see her again?" Marcus shook his head. "No. And that's how it should be. She's got her fresh start." "So, what now for us?" Tony asked. Marcus looked at his brothers, this group of outlaws who had become his family. "Now we ride. There's always another road, another town, another person who needs help." "Is that what we are now?" Scott asked, half joking. "Biker vigilantes?" "Maybe," Marcus said with a slight smile. "Or maybe we're just men trying to balance the scales a little." They mounted their bikes, engines roaring to life. As they rode away from the ranch, heading toward the horizon where the last light of day was fading, Marcus felt something he hadn't felt in years. Peace. They might be outlaws, criminals in the eyes of the law. But for once, they had done something truly good. They had saved an innocent life and reunited a family, and in the end, that was worth more than all the money or power the Carters could ever possess. 6 months had passed since that night in the Arizona desert. The Iron Wolves MC had moved on, taking their usual runs between cities, handling their business, living the life they knew. But something had changed within the group, especially Marcus. The rescue of Sophie had awakened something in him, a reminder that there was more to life than territory disputes and club politics. Marcus sat in a diner in Albuquerque, New Mexico, sipping bitter coffee and staring out the window at the rain. Derek slid into the booth across from him, shaking water from his leather jacket. "Still thinking about her?" Derek asked, knowing exactly what was on Marcus's mind. "Sometimes," Marcus admitted. "Wonder how they're doing." "They're fine," Derek assured him. "Emily's smart. She'll make it work." "Yeah," Marcus agreed, but the uncertainty lingered. His phone buzzed. An unknown number. Text message. "Thank you. We're safe and happy. E." Marcus showed the screen to Derek, who grinned. "See? Told you." There was an attachment, A photo of a woman with blonde hair, clearly dyed, holding a smiling baby in front of a backdrop of pine trees and mountains. Neither was recognizable at first glance, but Marcus knew it was them. Emily had kept her promise to stay hidden, sending him just enough to let him know she was okay without revealing her location. Marcus saved the photo, then deleted the message. It was better this way. No digital trail. "She looks happy," Derek observed. "Yeah, she does." The waitress refilled their coffee, and they sat in comfortable silence for a while. Outside, the rain continued to fall, drumming against the windows. "You know what the weird thing is?" Marcus said after a while. "I joined this club 20 years ago because I wanted freedom. No rules, no one telling me what to do. But that night with Emily, following our own code, doing the right thing, that felt more free than anything I'd done in years." Derek nodded slowly. "Yeah, I know what you mean. We spent so long running from responsibility that we forgot sometimes responsibility is a choice, not a prison." Marcus's phone rang. It was Tony. "Boss, we got a situation," Tony said without preamble. "There's a woman at the clubhouse. Says her daughter's missing. Boyfriend took her. Cops won't help because there's no custody order. She heard about what we did in Arizona." Marcus's eyebrows shot up. "How did she hear about that?" "Word gets around," Tony said. "Street networks, you know how it is. People talk." Marcus looked at Derek, who had heard enough of the conversation to understand. "What do you want me to tell her?" Tony asked. Marcus thought about Emily and Sophie, about that moment when he'd placed the baby back in her mother's arms. He thought about his own daughters, grown now but still his world. He thought about the peace he'd felt riding away from that ranch, knowing he'd done something that mattered. "Tell her we'll be there in an hour," Marcus said, "and tell her to have all the details ready. We're going to need names, addresses, everything." "You sure about this, boss?" Tony asked. Marcus smiled slightly. "Yeah, I'm sure." He hung up and looked at Derek. "You in?" Derek drained his coffee and stood up. "Do you even have to ask?" They walked out into the rain, heading toward their bikes parked under an awning. As Marcus swung his leg over his Harley and felt the familiar rumble of the engine beneath him, he realized something had fundamentally changed. The Iron Wolves MC was still an outlaw club. They still ran their businesses, still lived outside the boundaries of conventional society. But now they had a new purpose, something beyond territory and profit. They had become protectors of the vulnerable, champions of those the system failed. It wasn't about redemption or washing away past sins. It was about using the skills and resources they had for something meaningful. Marcus thought about the woman waiting at the clubhouse, desperate and alone, her child taken by someone who had no right. He thought about how the police had failed her, just as they'd failed Emily, and he knew that his brothers would stand with him, ready to do whatever it took to bring that child home. As they rode through the rain-slicked streets of Albuquerque, Marcus felt something he hadn't felt in decades. Purpose. Real purpose. The Iron Wolves were still wolves, fierce, loyal, and dangerous when provoked. But now they had something to fight for beyond themselves. They had become guardians in the shadows, a last resort for those with nowhere else to turn. When they arrived at the clubhouse, Marcus could see a figure standing outside despite the rain, a woman in her 30s, soaked through, clutching a photo of a little girl with blonde pigtails. Her eyes were red from crying, but there was determination in her stance. Marcus parked his bike and approached her, Derek and the others gathering around. "Mom," Marcus said gently, "I'm Marcus. Tell me about your daughter." The woman's voice shook as she began to speak. "Her name is Lily. She's 7 years old. Her father, my ex-boyfriend, took her 3 days ago. The police say they can't do anything without a custody agreement, but we were never married, and I can't afford a lawyer. He's threatened to disappear with her, to take her somewhere I'll never find her. Please, I heard you help people like me, people who have nowhere else to go." Marcus looked at his brothers. They all nodded. No words were needed. "We'll get your daughter back," Marcus promised. "Tell us everything you know about where he might have taken her." As the woman began to relay information, Marcus felt the familiar adrenaline starting to build. Another mission, another child who needed saving, another chance to make a difference. The life of an outlaw had never been about following rules. It had always been about freedom, the freedom to choose your own path, to live by your own code. And Marcus had chosen this path. He glanced at the photo of Lily the woman handed him. 7 years old, missing her front teeth in a bright smile, wearing a princess dress. Innocent, vulnerable, depending on strangers to bring her home. "We ride at dawn," Marcus told his brothers. "Kevin, start doing reconnaissance on the father's known locations. Brian, check if he has family out of state. Nathan, see what you can find about his vehicle, any tracking we can use. Derek, you're with me. We're going to talk to some of his friends, see what they know." The team dispersed immediately, each knowing their role. The woman looked at Marcus with tears streaming down her face. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you so much." "Save your thanks for when we bring her back," Marcus said. "And ma'am, we will bring her back." As the woman was led inside to get dry clothes and hot coffee, Marcus stood in the rain, looking up at the dark sky. Somewhere out there, Emily and Sophie were building their new life. Somewhere out there, Lily was waiting to be rescued, and Marcus and his brothers were ready to ride into the storm once more, because that's what wolves do. They protect their pack. And now, their pack included every child who needed them, every parent who had been failed by a system that was supposed to protect them. The Iron Wolves MC had found their true calling. And Marcus Sullivan, for the first time in his life, knew he was exactly where he was supposed to be, doing exactly what he was meant to do. The engine of his Harley roared to life again as he prepared for the next mission. The rain fell harder, but Marcus didn't feel it. He felt only the road ahead, the promise he'd made, and the unbreakable bond of brotherhood that would see it through. This was their story now. Not of criminals and outlaws running from the law, but of men who had found redemption not in forgiveness, but in action. Men who had discovered that the greatest freedom of all was the freedom to stand up for those who couldn't stand up for themselves. And as the Iron Wolves rode into the night, their engines echoing through the streets like thunder, one thing was certain: they would never stop fighting. For Emily, for Sophie, for Lily. For every child who needed a guardian angel in leather and chrome. The story of Just Kill Me Already had ended with Emily and Sophie finding peace, but the story of the Iron Wolves MC was just beginning.